I'm Maani Safa, CEO and founder of Poppins and Tuthill Porsche customer.
And I'm Richard Tuthill, CEO of Tuthill Porsche and Poppins customer.
So, I'm going to start with our journey because I think it's a wonderful one. I wanted to build my dream 911. I lived in the States. I scoured the States, then scoured all of Europe, and quite literally, and ended up meeting yourself. And we began a journey of you building my dream, aubergine dream, as I like to call it. Back then, this rather incredible location was, I think, one barn shed. And since then, which is nearly a decade ago, you have had this stratospheric transformation where this is, to me, now one of the most beautiful Porsche automotive excellence places on earth. You have launched some rather incredible cars, products like the ACS, the 911K that revs to 11,000 RPM, and a little over a few weeks ago, you launched the GT1, which quite literally broke the internet as one of the most talked about cars at Monterey. How on earth have you done this?
Great question. and I do still fondly remember the day we met, and here we are now, 10 years on. I think, I know, there's no secret to our success. We've just got our heads down and work like hell, as is often the case when you're developing a business. And there have been a few key moments in our last 10 years, really, and your input is absolutely one of them.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying so. Look, and on that note, I want to talk about the concept of attention to detail. So our strapline as a company is Seek Magic, and the idea is to find the magic in everything we do. It'd be physical, digital, brand, digital technology. For us, as part of the brand, one of the things that stood out to me was the level of detail that we put in, which is typical of our work. But what many people don't know is when it comes to your brand, those lines across the whole brand are actual rally tracks that Tuthill cars have raced on. Or the red color in your brand has the hex code 911. So actually it's Tuthill Red. Naturally, the same thing applies in your world. In fact, on an incredible level. Talk to me about your thoughts on attention to detail. How do you go about creating something like a 911K or everything I'm seeing around me here? What goes into that?
It's just as the work that you do. It's about standing back and looking at things and worrying. I think you've got to really care what something looks like, how it feels, how it drives. So I think one thing is for sure, our mechanical excellence has been something that we've been very, very well known for, and more recently. And again, this just does sound like nonsense, but you pushed us in the beginning to create something lovely with your car, and in the years following, this whole industry that we're all working in just gets better and better, so the quality level has to go up. But ultimately it takes people to care what they're doing and to pay real attention to the detail. And that starts with if the doormat as you come into this building is in fact square. So still every Wednesday morning I straighten up the new doormat, but it is that level of attention. It starts from when you come into this building. So we've got to keep working at it. We need to get better. We need to get better at everything we do. But that's a normal philosophy.
This is great. I feel less of a awkward person now because I'm exactly the same with you. Look, I think it's actually super interesting to me because, and you're not going to like me saying this because I know you, but actually over the weekend when I was at Revival, I heard someone say that Richard Tuthill is a triple threat. His team and him are fantastic engineers. They understand creativity, and he's a fantastic driver, which leads to you creating the kind of sparks of magic that you do. Do you think that's the magic source in what you do? What is the kind of undertone that goes into all these things?
I think you're right. The heart of this building is driving cars. And yes, this world we're now operating in talks about beautiful cars, and there are many beautiful cars. They're everywhere. I think we have just created one of the most beautiful ones for sure.
Absolutely right.
For me, it's about how it feels when you're driving, because when you're driving a car, you are at one. Really, it's the most. You know this. It's the most peaceful place you'll ever
absolutely
find me when I'm behind the wheel. So I think as much as looks are important, and they really, really are these days, I think the feedback and how you can enjoy your car is even more important because it creates a memory. And if you have memory in a great car, then you've pretty much made it.
For me, when people ask me, I get stopped. I genuinely get stopped. Sometimes it's a bit annoying because you want to go for a drive, especially when I drive my car in London. People stop me and ask me about the car and so on and so forth. And they ask me what my favourite thing about it is. Is it owning it? Is it the drives and so on? And I love the drives. As you know, I picked it up and did a 2,500 mile road trip around Europe. It was actually the build process. And the build process of crafting something from nothing, an idea that's in your mind, and then working with world-class experts to bring that alive. As you know, my father played a big part in it. All my family did, really. I had 120 swatches of colour and so on. But all those memories get infused into the product. What's your favourite part of what you do? Probably
the driving. I think to get there, we meet wonderful people. And the process isn't that straightforward. It sometimes takes a couple of attempts to get to where we want to get to, but the people we meet and the people I work with, both internally and externally, are probably equal first. And so I think the people we work with, the people I work with here, and of course, ultimately, once you get the car right, that's where it's at. So I find this incredibly interesting because you talk about getting things just right. For us, we tend to first look at what the customer needs are, and then we see what technology is available to enable that. There are times, though, when a customer comes to us and says, there is a new technology out, Apple Vision Pro, VR, AR, and we want to be first. We want to drive that forward. We want to be known for that. In your process, are you led by what technology is available, or actually are you led by what the customer wants, or how? I mean, how does something like the GT1 even come about? Good question. Look, we use technology to create cars, but the current CAD software, the stuff that you can design virtually is ever improving. And we're obviously quite new to that as a business because we've only just strayed away from standard Porsche shapes. We still have freedoms that modern day manufacturers don't have because of our low volume. So I'm not desperately searching for technology. In fact, almost the opposite, because the highest chance of crashing a car, according to me, is when you leave Hertz in something you probably rather you weren't driving, but we'll leave that to one side, and you start fighting with buttons to turn everything off. Not actually because you want to drive it quickly, it's because they're trying to control your driving. So in my case, all of our cars are very analog. I'm not saying they will be forever, but right now they are. The 911K, just a basic car, no ABS. There are really no electronics in that car, with the exception of the engine ECU. So I'm looking for simplicity, and I still believe you can achieve simplicity without adding a whole load of technology. So it's a sort of, we're using technology to create the product. The 911K engine is cutting edge. We've taken the very, very best materials, the latest understanding. How do you make an old 911 engine rev to 11,000? Well, no one ever thought it was possible. It is now. So on the one hand, we're using technology, but actually come back to driving, trying to use as little as possible.
So I'd like to talk about Community, the brand online. Something that all of us in the know found very funny, which was the car GT1 going to Monterey, and all of a sudden pictures of it popping up everywhere of it sat on a runway. Was that purposeful? Was that genius marketing? Or was that actually a fluke? Or can you say?
I wish it was, but no, it was papped, I think is what happened.
It was
there.
papped.
What followed, George Howson, he came up with that little American Office reel with them panicking in the background, and that is exactly what happened. So the run up to that, we did a little film with George in the workshop here at 3:00 the morning before it flew. Now, I've never posted on social media ever, and I said to Pierre and Laura whilst we were sitting down literally on the workshop floor, I said, shall I do my first post tonight? So just because we were doing this secret video, shall I literally just send a post out to all my followers, of which I have none, of a picture of a GT1? And sure enough, a week later, there it was, but it created a bit of a stir. But no, we were nothing to do with it.
Porsche's online community, frankly, second to none. There's so much out there across the world. And actually the Tuthill community, both through social but also in the real world, is spectacular. I've met some of my best friends through actually the Tuthill customer base. Is that something that you've purposely cultivated? How much of that is actually you and your personality, but also, of course, a lot of the work we've helped you guys deliver to? How impactful is that on the business in your view as an entrepreneur and CEO?
Well, I think what you did for us was pretty transformational, and it does allow us to communicate with all sorts of people all over the world in ways that, quite frankly, I don't really understand, but it works. What I would say is what's unique about this building, which then, as a visitor to this building, you get caught up in, is that I live with these guys in the middle of Africa for a month. Last weekend, I was at a race circuit with a race team. We were out on a rally the weekend before. We do spend weeks and even months at a time in very, very close quarters. And then if you extend that to our clients, who then interact with all of us again whilst we're in Africa. I think the word community that you're talking about is clearly in the virtual world, which then extends into the real world. Mm. And the one thing this place is real. So you've met a whole load of mates charging around, be it Europe or going through London in your lovely car. You can do the same on the ice lake in Sweden or on one of the four corners of the earth. Wherever you go, if you've got a car, it will allow you to access communities.
The other thing you talk about community, there's so much similarity actually between us we call it the House of Poppins, taken over an old embassy building and turned it into a home for really the world's leading creative technologists. And that family entity, that team mentality is acutely, actively part of our day-to-day culture. And that is what comes through in the work that we do too. So I fully understand that. In terms of the work, it's really interesting to me, and I was thinking about this on the drive down today. You're one of the very few brands and businesses we've worked on that is growing at such a pace and is transforming at such a pace where we transformed your brand and your social and digital presence nearly 3 years ago. And actually the business has just leapfrogged that multiple times. And I'm not going to go into that today, but we're about to embark on some very exciting new updates across the board. Where do you get this energy from? Is this something that you are going to continue doing forever, you think? Is Tuthill kind of the energy of it just surging through your veins, or do you think you've got an end game at the end of all of this?
Well, there's no plan, there's no end game. However, as you would do, which I know you put crazy hours in, if you're enjoying something, then it's pretty cool. So you might as well press on. We're inspired by modern cars, old cars, but we're inspired by great people. So if someone asks you to do something, you better get on and do it. And I don't know where it will end up, but we'll keep trying.
Last question from me. My favorite thing of working with Tuthill as me being your customer is getting to work with you, but also being in this environment and your people make it truly feel like a home from home. That I come in here, everyone knows me by name, and they're working on products in a place that is like being a kid in a candy shop. What is your version of that with working with Poppins?
Well, what you did with us was something I'd never experienced. So firstly, you brought a whole lot of great people into a room, both your people and my people, and then you said, right, come on, this is a hugely collaborative process. And as you've just mentioned, when you visit your HQ, which thank God now is in London and not somewhere else in the world, it's really, really lovely. You're made very, very welcome. There's a lot of coffee drinking going on. It looks very, very relaxed and creative as these environments are. What you do is fairly effortlessly guide us through what can be a pretty daunting process, and you're clever at that. It's a bit like when you came to me, you sort of knew a little bit about 911s. Well, put it this way, you knew more about 911s than I do about communications. So I sort of guided you through that process. Sometimes I didn't give you a choice, sometimes I did. By return, you did exactly the same for me. And the result was extraordinary in both senses. So well done us.
I totally agree.
Aren't we clever?
And you're absolutely right. I come to you and say, with a big presentation about, I want to do this and this, and you're like, no, you don't. And I was like, no, I really, no, you don't. And actually, every single time you were correct.
But I still haven't let you rebuild your engine. So if anyone's interested, you remember you wanted a big engine. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, Maani. He was probably dressed like this, which is impeccably. I've had to dress up for this. And I said, well, I don't think you do need a big engine. Have you ever driven an old car? No. Okay, well, let's start. So we took the standard car out. And I very clearly remember we turned right into the main road. As we went past the 30-mile-an-hour zone, I said, okay, accelerate. And we were in second gear. And within about 2,000 RPM, you're like, bloody hell. And I said, all I said was, get to know this car, enjoy it. And then if you come back in a year's time, or 2 years' time, or 10 years' time, which you haven't done yet, to have the engine upgraded, well, it's out of the car within an hour. I'm not in the business of selling people stuff they don't know, so I won't do it. And by the way, we're really, really busy, so I might not even have time to do it. So I helped myself out on that day as well. But I think just as you have strong-armed me down a certain path, very collaboratively, obviously.
Of course.
I did the same. I made you believe that that's what you needed. I think we got it right.
Best decision I made.
Yeah.
Well, then now it makes me want another one.
We can sort that.
Thank you.
Thank you.